May 11th, 2021. It is 7 p.m. Welcome to the San Marino Unified School District Board of Education meeting. Again, it is now 7 p.m. and we are streaming live on YouTube as well as conducting the meeting in person. I'd like to now introduce Board President Shelly Ryan.
Thank you, Dr. Choi, and welcome everyone. It is a pleasure to be here with you in person this evening. I have nothing to report from closed session. I'd like to open the regular session now. And so this is a procedural item. If I can call to order and make sure everyone's here. Roll call, please. Mr. Chang?
Here.
Mrs. Chan-Lin? Here. Mrs. Chong? Here. Mr. Barbary will be joining us through Zoom. And my name is Shelly Ryan, and I am your board president. And also want to welcome back our student board member, Vahini Garmel. Thank you for joining us. So right now, I'd like to ask everyone to stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and you may be seated. Under 6B, board member residency requirements and inquiry by.
I don't have a meeting. This is the school.
I think that was somebody that was missed. Okay.
This is a discussion item and it could lead to action. Mr. Barber, are you on the line?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'd like to address the question that's been raised about my eligibility to serve on this board. At this point, I only have one residence, which is here in San Marino. I regret not being able to join tonight, but I have been traveling and I cannot clear the 10-day period. As some in the community have become aware, our house was recently listed for sale and it is now currently in escrow. While this does not change my eligibility to serve on the board, as this is still my residence, I believe the time is now to address this issue. The thought of leaving San Marino is not something that Jen and I had planned. A year ago, I was thinking more about how many terms that I might want to serve on this board rather than possibly not even serving one full term. Jennifer's family has been part of San Marino for nearly 50 years, and she is a fourth generation in her family living here in the San Gabriel Valley. We never thought of leaving, and that's why I ran for school board in the first place, to help make the schools the best possible for our daughter, as well as the students here in San Marino. But COVID has changed our world in so many ways. It has forced us all to look at our lives differently. It has fundamentally changed the way we do school, work, and live our lives. Many of these have negatively affected us all, but there have been some positives as well. Working remotely has become so normal now that it is adding flexibility where it did not exist before. We saw this flexibility as a way to look at our lives differently and began to explore what it might look like to live outside San Marino. This was a very difficult decision, but we have decided it's time to move on to something new. This change is not about moving away from anything. We have loved our time at Carver, and I truly believe Caroline would not be the wonderful little girl she is today without the care and guidance of the great teachers and staff there. As for the district, even though there are challenges ahead, like ensuring adequate funding and finding a new superintendent, I believe that this district will make it through and come out the stronger on the other side. But those important decisions ahead should be made by board members that will be here to see the fruits of those decisions in the future. My continuing to serve on this board will only be a distraction, and therefore with a heavy heart, I must tender my resignation so that the work can start to find my replacement. Thank you to all the people of San Marino for allowing me the experience to serve on this as a representative on this board.
Thank you, Mr. Barbary. And with that, I also want to add to 6B in terms of residency and the inquiry. So, Mr. Barbary, Corey, on behalf of the San Marino Board of Education, I would like to extend our gratitude to you for your participation and contributions to our school community these past 2 years. And despite the health pandemic and the requirements of social distancing the past 14 months, we have still enjoyed working with you. I also want to take this opportunity to personally thank our former board president, Lisa Link, in 2018, because it was she who led the support for and mentoring for our new board member, Mr. Barbary, and our new superintendent, Dr. Wilson. The board wants to congratulate the Barbary family on the sale of their home, but would also like to extend our best wishes to you, Jennifer, and Caroline on the next chapter of your family's journey. Corey, as you know now, being a board member requires much time and sacrifice. So I want to also take this opportunity to thank Jennifer and Caroline for sharing Corey with us. Thank you, Corey, on behalf of the board.
Thank you.
Are there any comments? Do we need to, there are no cards, okay?
Shelley?
Yes,
Oh, would it be all right if I just said something?
all right, thank you, Mrs. Chong.
Oh, I just wanted to extend my gratitude to Corey as well for his service on the board. He stepped up into a role that has been fraught with many challenges when he came on, and then more piled on top of it after that. And I just want to say thank you, Corey, for your service. Thank you to Jennifer and Caroline for everything they've sacrificed. Sitting here now, I recognize a lot of that that you gave up. And so I do want to thank you for that. And I do want to wish you guys well in your next part of whatever comes next.
Thank you.
All right, next, 6C is the approval of the agenda. This is an action item.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Chong and Mr. Chan. I'd like to call on your vote. Mr. Chang, please.
Aye.
Mrs. Chanlin?
Aye.
Mrs. Chong?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan? Aye. Student board member?
Aye.
Thank you so much. Without any discussion, the motion has been approved for the agenda. 6D, approval of minutes. This is an action item. This is for April 14th, 2021, a special Board of Education meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes as read?
I move to approve the minutes for the April 14th meeting.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Chong and Mrs. Chanlin for that. So with that, Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Chanlin,
Aye.
Mrs. Chong,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, aye. Student board member, Ms. Garamella.
Aye.
Thank you. And the motion passes for the approval of minutes for April 14th. Board of Education meeting minutes for April 20th. May I have a motion as read?
I'd like to approve for the April 20 Board of Education meeting minutes.
A second.
Thank you, Mr. Chang and Mrs. Chong for the motion. Like to call roll call. Mrs. Chong,
Aye.
Mrs. Chanlin,
Aye.
Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, aye, and Ms. Bahini Garamelli.
Aye.
Thank you so much. The motion has passed. The last approval of minutes is for April 30th, 2021, Special Board of Education meeting minutes.
I move to approve the minutes from April 30th.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Chong and Mr. Chang for that. Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mrs. Chanlin?
Aye.
Mrs. Chong?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan? Aye. And our student board member?
Aye.
Thank you so much. The motion has passed for this. Finally, approval of minutes for May 2nd, Special Board of Education meeting minutes.
I'd like to approve for May 2nd, Special Board of Education meeting minutes.
I second. Jane?
Thank you, Mr. Chang and Mrs. Chong. Like to do roll call. Mr. Chang, please.
Aye.
Mrs. Chong?
Aye.
Mrs. Chanlin?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan? Aye. And Ms. Fahini Garamelli?
Aye.
Thank you so much. And the motion has passed for all of the approval of the minutes. We now move to 7, which is a public comment section. This is a procedural item. The Board of Education has adopted Board Policy 9323B. This is to ensure the public's right to be heard in any matters pertaining to the San Marino Unified School District. Persons who wish to provide public comment will have 3 options to submit public comments. You may submit through an online form, request to speak during the meeting via question and answer and phone dial-in, or request to speak during the meeting in person via the public comment card. You may find the cards to your right to anticipate, okay? And then next, the public may submit public comments for the open or closed session, and this began today from 11 a.m. through 3:30. That was 11 a.m. through 3:30. Comments received during this time will not be read during the meeting, but will be provided to the Board of Education. Please submit comments in the future at bit.ly BOE 51121. So at this time, a request to speak during the meeting through question and answer and phone dial in. This is during public comment session. The meeting will pause for 1 minute to take requests to speak. Raise your hand function is used to take requests during the public comment section. And so for online attendees, press the raise your hand icon to add yourself to the queue. For phone attendees, dial *9. The speaking order will be determined based on the order of requests received. Individual speakers will be unmuted and called to speak. Requests to speak during the meeting in person through the public comment card. Please complete the public comment card. Submit the completed card to the designated drop-off box with the assistant to the superintendent, and she is seated at your left-hand side, no later than when the agenda section items not on the agenda or when we get to the consent section, the information or action section is called on by the board president. There will be opportunities for the public comment. They're offered prior to closed session at the start of the regular open session for items that are not on the agenda and prior to consent. Any information and action items for matters on the agenda. The Board of Education reserves the right to add a public comment period prior to any individual item on the agenda. 5 minutes may be allotted to each speaker, maximum of 20 minutes to each subject matter. However, in the event that there are more than 4 speakers on the same subject matter, the board president retains the discretion to adjust and limit the time allocated to each speaker to ensure that all wishing to speak will be heard within the 20-minute allotment. 7A, this is the communication from the audience regarding matters that are not on the agenda, and they are to be made at this time. This is for informational item. So, Dr. Choi?
Thank you, President Ryan. We are pausing the meeting for 1 minute to take requests for public comments for matters that are not on the agenda. Again, if you would like to make a request to speak regarding matters not on the agenda, please press the raise hand icon or dial *9 to make a request. We have 30 seconds remaining. If you would like to make a request to speak on matters not on the agenda, please press the raise hand icon or dial *9. Okay, President Ryan, we have 4 requests via Zoom to make a public comment regarding matters not on the agenda.
Thank you so much, Dr. Choi. Will you please time the speakers? They're all allotted 5 minutes per speaker. Please invite our first speaker.
Our first speaker is Tammy Garcia. Tammy, your line is now open.
Thank you, and I apologize if this item is on the agenda, but I just want to speak out to the administrative staff and acknowledge them from San Marino High School, as I want to say that they have been extremely supportive of all of us in special ed and in all our endeavors throughout this year particularly. And I just feel like in terms of backing up what they have done, Jason and Carlos, in terms of setting up our master schedule, has been impeccable and taking into account all of the needs of the students and parents and teachers. I just want to acknowledge them and thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have the San Marino Teachers Association. San Marino Teachers Association, your line is now open.
Thank you. Thank you, board members. And I would simply like to thank our San Marino Unified School District parents and our San Marino Schools Foundation. They have done so very much to show their love and their support for our teachers. Also, very importantly, they have shown emotional support and financial support because they understand the needs of those of us truly vested, sincerely vested in the progress and stability of our school district, our families, and our community as a whole. We are so thankful for you. We love what we do. We get to grow little people, and we get to guide them through middle school and help them prepare as high schoolers for the world outside. We are privileged enough to be able to do that. And when you send a donation, when you paint something on the back of your car, when you share treats, when you say thank you, this time, which is such a hard time for morale, it goes a very long way. So we would be remiss if we had not said thank you once again to our parents and our foundation. And of course, thank you to those who have served in our board and are off. And we appreciate you. And also, goodbye to Dr. Wilson. Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Michael Kalaki. Michael Kalaki, your line is now open.
Thank you very much, Madam President, as well as the members of the board and the administration. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank every teacher and every staff member and the administrators of the district looking back over what has been done and achieved with all of our students over this last year, it's been a tremendous challenge, and each of you truly do deserve a thank you for what you have done for our kids and for their futures. It's been an intense and challenging time, but your dedication to our kids is truly and deeply appreciated. I'd also like to thank the district for immediately working to organize a vaccine clinic, or at least exploring that for our schools. It's great to hear that that may be an option for our students. One helpful suggestion, although I understand that I don't understand all the factors that go into this, but one suggestion may be if we could possibly not have that clinic in the middle of finals week, because that may affect the finals of students. It may also result in some kids having fevers and being turned away from campus in the middle of their finals. So if we could possibly move that up a week, that would be very, very helpful for our students. I'd also like to thank the board for moving these board meetings back into person. I think it's extremely crucial and important, and it is definitely a move in the interest of transparency and integrity and credibility of all board decisions, that all board members be present in person. I think that that is a great move. And I think it's also wonderful and very helpful to continue to allow the public to attend, as I'm doing now, by Zoom or in person. And then I'd also like to just present a question. I understand it can't be answered now, but I'd like to know if we could possibly have an update on what board members on the board have in fact attended their training with regard to the Masters of Governance training, and particularly any courses that have been done with that Masters of Governance training with regard to ethics and proper governance. So thank you very much again to the teachers and the staff members and the administrators for everything you guys have done this year for our kids.
Thank you. And next we have Jacqueline Scheidel. Jacqueline, your line is now open.
I want to make some comments to those members of the community who are listening. I am a teacher at the high school of AP English Lit and American Literature. And I'm here tonight virtually to speak about the importance of the parcel tax and how much we're hoping the community will come together to pass the parcel tax. Before making my points about that, I do want to also thank the Educational Foundation. My husband served as president of the La Cañada Educational Foundation, and I know how much heart and soul goes into raising money, particularly when teachers' jobs are at stake. So we are feeling deeply grateful at the high school, as I'm sure teachers all over the district are feeling grateful. So prior to coming to San Marino, where I have taught for 11 years, I taught in another school district for 11 years. And it was a different story. We had class sizes that averaged 38 per period, and sometimes would be asked to take a 6/5 schedule where we might have 210 students in a day. So, you know, it could range from 180 to 210. This made a fundamental difference in the quality of education that we could provide. I'm an English teacher, so I will speak from that perspective. We graded one essay with written feedback per quarter. Our English department teachers and other teachers sadly had spotty attendance at SSTs, 504s, IEPs, because there was such a high degree of teacher absenteeism due to sickness, mental health days, this kind of thing, or there were conflicts that were mistakenly put into the schedule because we were trying to, as teachers and administrators, carry such a large student load and address so many needs that there would be scheduling conflicts made out of error. The number of days it took to return an email for me and for my colleagues, whether to a parent, a student, or another colleague, would be multiple. 2 to 3 days sometimes to return emails. There was a high degree of burnout. I witnessed teachers with health conditions that I think were brought on by just the stress of trying to manage so many humans in a day and all of their needs, and then the extended needs of the parents and so forth. It was a big load. Finally, we were, I think, able to meet the needs of the high achievers, and we were able to meet the needs of the students who were really in danger. At least we made every effort. But the kids in the middle, those were the kids I saw fall through the cracks. Those were the kids I never really got to know. Those were the kids who, maybe just weren't noticed. Not because we didn't want to include them, but because it was just too much. I remember getting phone calls from the counseling office asking me to take more kids into my room and saying, I have 38, I don't have any desks, there's no room for desks. And I remember kids sitting on top of file cabinets. So it wasn't a great situation. When I came to San Marino, it was the complete opposite. We were grading multiple essays per quarter with ample written feedback. We were able to nurture each individual student, including those in the middle. I could take care of my own wellness. I could manage my own life outside of school without needing an afternoon nap every day. So I'll end there, but I wanted to put just a personal stamp on all of this, having experienced what it looks like when there aren't as many teachers and the class sizes grow. Thank you.
Thank you. President Ryan, that concludes our public comments from online as well as public comment cards. We did not receive any public comment cards for matters not on the agenda.
All right, so 7B, now we would like to introduce communication from the audience regarding matters that are on the consent agenda, and they are to be made at this time. The consent section is 8A to 8G. Dr. Choi?
Thank you, President Ryan. We'll pause for 1 minute to take requests regarding matters in the consent section. If you would like to make a request to speak, please press the raise hand icon or dial *9. Or you may also, if you are joining us in person, to please submit a public comment card. We have 30 seconds remaining. If you would like to make a request to speak regarding matters in the consent section, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit the public comment card. President Ryan, we have no requests.
Thank you, Dr. Choi. Now we move to consent section, and this is requiring action. May I have a motion, please, on the floor?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
That's Mrs. John.
Thank you, Mrs. Chong. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Chan Lin. Without discussion, I'd like to call roll call for the consent section. Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mrs. Chong?
Aye.
Mrs. Chan Lin?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan? Aye. Student board member?
Aye.
Thank you, Vahini. Next, we have the communication section. This is a procedural item, communication from the Board of Education. I'd like to start with Mrs. Chong.
Thank you, Board President. So I wanted to start off with a really quick review of some of the activities I've been engaging in. I've been speaking with a lot of educators and parents about a lot in both other districts and states about COVID and reopening. And I feel I am very grateful for what we've accomplished in our district. We just did a lot this year. And it's really evidenced by when I speak with other people outside of San Marino. And I know that's because of the community and of everyone, all of the employees, the staff, the teachers, the parents, and everybody all kind of really pitching in on that. For myself, I spent a lot of time on webinars and trainings the last couple months. In addition to some of the board trainings, I went to webinars on equity, Asian bias issues, student wellness, attended a student forum about college admissions. And I want to say, I think we're really on track with what we're trying to accomplish in our district. It's really heartening to hear, to kind of be reflective about what we're doing and look at what we should be doing and what we can be doing. And I really enjoyed that opportunity to sort of be a little more thoughtful about our future plans. I've also attended a lot of PTA meetings and coffees and had a lot of community conversations around the, one or two things that that's been going on around here. And I want to thank the community for all of that work. The input that we get from everybody is really what helps inform our decision making. And in addition to all that, I actually just went to our finance training for the Masters in Governance last week. And that was really eye-opening because I spent 2 mornings looking at budgets and trying to understand financials. And that was a lot of really a lot of work in my brain, but it was really good. I want to take a second to also recognize the teachers and classifieds this week. In recognizing all of the work everybody did, I really appreciate the way everybody steps up. I want to do a little bit of a shout out to our 21 teachers who participated in dropping 250 signs throughout San Marino and other cities to recognize our seniors. And I want to thank all of our parents and students and all of their fundraising and Measure E campaign efforts. There's signs everywhere, cars decorated, videos out there. And I want to say that this makes me very optimistic about what we're looking at in our future. I know that a lot of information I've been seeing from the national and state level has talked about reopening for the future, and we've been doing a lot of that in-person activities lately that really makes me very optimistic for what we're looking at in the fall as we start planning ahead. And as we're looking at our future with the parcel tax and our superintendent, our board member, our long-term goals and priorities, this is all really an opportunity for us to really figure out who we are as a community and where we go from here. Somebody said to me that hope is not a solution. And at first that sounds a little bit off-putting, but at the same time, I think what it really highlights is the fact that we have a lot of work ahead of us, and it's going to be messy and it's going to be hard. And I don't want us to be afraid of it. I want us to really lean into it and acknowledge that the change is coming, whether we like it or not, but we can really be proactive about it and really look to take advantage of it, to really look at what we've done well and what we want to do well in the future and how we're going to come together as a community to really be polite, to be patient, to be engaged in the process, and to be optimistic about it, because I do think that's what we all need right now as we get into this home stretch. So I just want to thank everybody for continuing to do that work alongside of us. We really count on everybody for that.
Thank you, Mrs. Chong. Mrs. Chanlin, please.
I'd like to start with saying it's Teacher Appreciation Week, and it's so wonderful to see that my 5th grade daughter is just so happy to really think of all the teachers and all of the support staff over at Carver and want to get them gifts and want to write them notes. And she's been reminiscing all week about all the ways that they're showing up and that they are making school fun in these difficult times. And what I keep thinking of is, wow, with so much going on, with Measure E not passing, with, Dr. Wilson's departure, and so much turbulence, that the teachers really are the heart and soul of our community. And I just want to say thank you so much to all of the teachers for their dedication and their love for these students. And the students see it and they feel it and they will always remember it. And thank you to the administrators, the principals, and everyone on the ground who just worked so hard in spite of all that's happening. And I also want to say thank you to Corey Barbary and to Jen and to Caroline, and I wish them well as they move on their journey. And it's exciting for them. And this board has our work cut out for us, finding Corey's replacement, finding Dr. Wilson's replacement. And I continue to encourage the community to keep reaching out, to email us, to let us know what you're thinking, what's going on, how your students are doing well or struggling, whatever it is. We need to hear from every community member who has something to say. It's really important. It guides our work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Chanlin. Mr. Chang, please.
First of all, I also want to appreciate Corey Beverly. Even though we stay only the 2 years, very short time, but I appreciate your support. Last year, as I served as a board president, I think I always remember the time we have an in-person meeting. You and Chris Noga and always stay with me. Yeah, thank you. Wish you have the good luck in Tennessee. Secondly, I went to the San Marino High School performance art presentation. This the once a year, I take this show as an indicator to see the how much our students learn from the performance art and what is the learning result. So I always surprised and I always enjoy. And this year is outdoor. Before I saw this show, I just thinking about how we will do in the outdoor, not in the stage, but look like even better, yeah. So every dancer they can have more space and not worry about the distance, yeah. So thank you for San Marino High School Principal Jason, your leadership. So we did not stop for this program, this year.
Thank you.
Third, as you know, my background is public health. So the San Marino community and the school district health always my priority. As today, in May, tonight we can stay here. I feel very excited. The reason means compared to other city, compared to other district, I think we don't have too many victims, suffering for the COVID-19 issue. To reflect for the last 12 months is really is a big deal in our life, especially in my family. As you know, I have 2 kids and they are working in the front line. So several months ago, we cannot stay together. So when they come back home, I also worry about them because I'm the senior citizen pretty soon. So I also want to protect myself. And in the meantime, I also fly to Asia to see what happened to prevent for COVID-19. Even the year of 2003, there's a SARS. I also fly to Taiwan. So that was the scary experience. In the Taipei hospital, it's a very scary, the people, they are being isolated. But then when I come back, I appreciate, our school district leadership, Dr. Wilson and Dr. Stephen Choi. I really appreciate both of you always give me the support when I have some idea and we are able to work together. And then we can have a accomplishment on this issue. And yesterday was the last day for me to do for the.
I haven't been home.
So I also coordinate the vaccine. So yesterday, Huntington Library, all the employee and family, they get the second shot. So with that, I know this community, I think the COVID-19 issue will have a less serious. And then it's the time for us to move to another era. But as the public health worker, I want to give everyone some warning. Before the CDC, the remove all the guidelines. I think we need to still to be very conservative. Yeah, because you never know, even you get a 2 shot, but you don't know what's going on in your neighbor because of the daytime they walk outside of this community. And then the 2 days ago, so then I talked to Dr. Wilson and Stephen Choi. So I'm glad that Stephen Choi follow up. So we may able to get this vaccine for our students and maybe the family. I think with that, so we probably will be the safe community and the city. So I fear the citizen, if they get serious, they always get the best result. And finally, as you know, we have a turnover for our superintendent. So I wish Dr. Wilson can continue, but I know this is impossible. So I want to give him the best wish. Today is not the last day, so I want to give you the best wish. But in the meantime, it's very important. I think district cabinet, I know you guys work so hard. You need to continue even without a superintendent. This is very important for our community and also for our students and the parents and the teacher, the staff. And also in the meantime, I think the 4th school site principal, I want you continue to do your best because students, they need, and the teacher, they need your leadership. So hang in there, yeah. So I hope you guys have the commitment for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chang and fellow board members. It's very difficult to follow after the 3 of these. What more could I say? I wanted to kind of begin with thanking the teachers for their grace and their resiliency and for coming along with us on this journey. Our students for always taking on the challenges and for engaging and being responsible for your own learning and for lifting us up. We're just so floored by your accomplishments and the things that teachers help students to continue to grow and to learn during this year. On another level, I wanted to kind of call out some of my colleagues here. Dr. Lin, what could I say? You've led another phenomenal year, and as I excitedly await some of your newsletters and your communication, I am so grateful for the leadership that you provide for us. Alana, kudos to you and the accomplishments of your students. I just finished watching all of their engineering projects on video, and what a surprise. And how wonderful for the students and the families who engaged in those experiments on engineering. And then, of course, our middle school principal, thank you for opening up the doors to us and for leading the way and doing what you do so well with our middle school students. Jason, what can I say? Thank you, thank you, thank you for your ability to address and support your staff and the students and the families. You're doing an outstanding job. And someone said to me this week, you know, Shelley, you're holding up pretty well. You know, your superintendent's leaving, you have a board member. And I said, you know what? It's really because our school sites are all being well taken care of with our students and our families. I feel blessed to have the cabinet with me. I don't do any of this alone. I may look like I'm doing really well, but the work is all handled by the people here on stage. And then my colleagues also, they are very active board members, and I look forward to continuing to work with them. So Mr. Barbary, if you're still listening, thank you for your 2 years. And thank you for representing our community and also adding to what we will always remember as part of San Marino and who we are. So thank you. Next, we have our superintendent and communications. This is 9B.
All right. Hello. All right. Welcome back, everybody. It's just super exciting to be here. I know we're all experiencing these moments when we go out and go to a restaurant that we haven't been inside of for 14 months, and we look around and think, can this really be happening? And it really is, and here we are. It is a little strange with the masks on still, but that will soon end as well. So first of all, I want to congratulate Corey and Jennifer on their pending move to Tennessee. We are going to miss the Barbarys, especially Caroline. I was out talking to Dr. Lynn earlier, and I know he's dearly going to miss Caroline at the school, and it's a shame that Mr. Topalian won't get to be her principal either. But I want to thank Corey for his friendship over these last couple of years and for his guidance. I mean, Corey's knowledge of finance and his ability to really understand school finance in pretty short order. And it's very different than corporate finance. So Corey's been a great help to the district, working very closely with Julie Boucher and Linda and myself on really sort of unpacking the budget, expenditures, revenues, being able to communicate that in his community. So Mr. Barbary, your loss is a huge one, both personally and professionally for us. I still don't know what you're going to do, though, when the USC football season opens in the fall, and you're going to be in Tennessee. But maybe you can find a group of Trojan alumni down in Nashville and watch those games together. So a bit of formality in the middle of my words about Mr. Barbary. Mr. Barbary's announcement this evening serves as a formal announcement of a board vacancy and the initiation of a provisional appointment process. And I just want to say a few words about that to the board tonight. So tomorrow, Dr. Choi will initiate an advertisement that will appear in the Tribune, the Star News. It will be distributed via Constant Contact and via our website. Tomorrow, I've already begun working with Mr. Barbary, but Mr. Barbary will submit a formal letter of resignation to the county deputy, to the county superintendent of education, with his signature on it. Moving forward in the near future here, the board will take action in our next meeting to appoint a subcommittee of the board. We will be sending or formulating an application for the Board of Education that will be placed on our website starting Wednesday. You hear that, Dr. Choi? Starting Wednesday. And that application will be open for 2 weeks. So the dates on that likely will be May 13th through May 27th. And then, like I said, in the next meeting, we'll agendize a subcommittee of the board who will determine the eligibility of those who show an interest through the application process. And then with the goal being in our June 8th meeting, that the board will be able to interview eligible candidates, make an appointment possibly in that meeting, and actually swear in an appointee. And then we'll talk more about that process if an election is to occur or something other than that. But that's just, we've been working with council for most of the day today to get that straight with regards to ed code and everything else. But just want to let you know that we're on top of it, staff's on top of it, and we'll be communicating with you about those particulars. So I want to carry on with my comments. I want to also, we've heard it tonight already, but I want to thank the foundation. Man, they've been working really, really, really hard. And you know, we see it at the staff level. We know just how hard Aaron Bilbado and, you know, Zaina and everybody else on that foundation is to really help us bring back our teachers. So thank you for your generous support and for helping us hopefully rescind a large number of layoff notices. I want to thank our principals and leadership team for showing empathetic and resolute leadership over these past 14 months of the pandemic. You know, after I made my announcement of leaving at the end of June, we had our first large management meeting last week. And it was just such a good time together. It was a wonderful time together. And as I looked at the grid of faces up there, it really hit me what an incredibly strong leadership team that we've put together with our principals and our cabinet. You know, folks that are out there like Gil Cardenas and Vanjie Linget and Francesca Gill and others who you don't see very often, but who are just doing incredible amounts of work. You know, Gil's out there doing the job of 2 former management employees and doing a great job with that. And that's very representative of what's happened over these last couple of years. And so this is a great leadership team. Have confidence in this leadership team because they are ready and they will continue to deliver for the district. So I want to thank them tonight. I want to thank Linda and Judy specifically. These two have been slaving day in and day out on doing everything possible to bring our teachers back, to working with the foundation. Linda's been in constant contact with the foundation leadership. Judy's been doing all of the hard lifting with regards to, you know, bumping and identifying credentialing and, you know, trying to mitigate the negative impacts on the district. So these two have just been working so very, very hard to get us to this point. Stephen, you know, we've talked a lot about it, but has led this COVID compliance team over the course of this year that has allowed us to get to a point where I can't imagine a safer opening for a school district and a more effective opening for a school district. And the fact that we got all of our schools open by April 1st, which is just a monumental feat when you think about what's happening out there. And so Stephen's done a great job, and then just pulling the technology together just to make tonight happen was a major lift. So clock's in the back, but Stephen and his team have just done such a great job. I also want to mention Lena here, Dr. Richter. Poor Dr. Richter has not been able to get out of her office in weeks because she's having to do 3 LCAP plans by herself. And I often say in my former district, I had about 7 people doing the work of what Lena's doing. And and by the way, being a smaller district, that work is not less. It's the same LCAP. It's the same data gathering. It's the same stakeholder input meetings. It's the same writing, but she's doing the work of what I used to have 7 people doing. So thank you, Lena. I also want to thank our amazing and wonderful teachers and staff for guiding our students through a very difficult time, very difficult 14 months, and just doing it with such an amazing positive attitude. I got to tell you, just dropping into classrooms and seeing the interactions, the enthusiasm that they're able to portray through that video, and now thankfully in person, they've really put their heart and soul in it this year, and time as well, very practically. And so, and Joseph, thank you for mentioning Greece. I had jotted that down in my notes. That was such a great night, just getting out and seeing real kids doing real dancing and real singing at a real school. It was just so powerful. So thanks to all of our teachers, all of our staff, all of our counselors who have just watched out for our kiddos and made sure that they're doing okay. Well, the county's in the yellow tier. I just checked yesterday, there was only 179 new cases in the county. That is really, really low. And so it's our hope that for the fall 2021 semester that we'll open without any attendance restrictions. We don't know that for sure, as Jane mentioned. The legislature has not ruled on a number of items having to do with funding and the rest of it. So we don't know. We can't give you any definitive answers right now. But that's what we're all kind of gearing up for. But we do know that masks will still be in play. The protocols will still be in play. And hopefully we'll have all our kiddos back in the fall. And it's just so refreshing. I read an article this week that the county's finally talking about herd immunity. And that right now we're at 8.5 million in LA County that have been at least vaccinated one time. I think it's 5.3 have been vaccinated twice. So they're starting to actually use that word for sometime in the middle of July. And so with that, I will thank the Board of Education. And this is not my last meeting, so you'll hear from me again, but thank you for everything you do.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wilson. Next, we're going to hear communication from our student board member, Ms. Fahini Garamil.
So I'm sure Dr. Richter will touch on a lot of my communications in her later presentation. But on the week of April 26th to the 30th, Carver had their CAS testing. Valentine celebrated their annual May Day, and HMS's ASB presented on stress awareness as they're promoting Stress Awareness Month. That following weekend, I forgot to mention it on my notes, but San Marino High School's ASB hosted a rejection day and a commitment day to recognize and celebrate the seniors on their recent college decisions. And as mentioned earlier, the drama department of the high school also put on their production of Grease in person, which is very exciting. Also from May 3rd to 8th, Valentine had CAS testing and a virtual engineering fair viewing, and it was also Teacher Appreciation Week at San Marino High School. And San Marino High School's ASB also hosted their Sound of Summer event, which was a in-person drive-through, which is kind of hybrid, I guess, but it was very successful. Lastly, Mrs. Travisano reached out to me today, sharing that Carver Student Council unanimously voted to hold a Carver Spirit Week next week. And they're also holding one last service event next week, which will be a toy drive for CHLA patients.
Thank you so much. And so next, communication from the audience regarding matters on the information agenda item are to be made at this time. That's for 11A, B, and C. And so Dr. Choi, I'll take it away.
Thank you, President Ryan. We will pause for 1 minute to take requests on matters on the information items on the agenda. If you would like to make a request to speak, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. We have 30 seconds remaining. If you would like to make a request to speak regarding information items on the agenda, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. Okay, President Ryan, we have one hand raised from our panelist, Aaron Bilbado.
All right. Thank you. Welcome, Aaron.
Let me go ahead and make sure she is able to.
I think that my hand was raised in regard to the agenda item. So if it's something different than that, I will withdraw my hand.
Yeah, withdraw.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. We'll talk to you in a minute.
So under the information item, end of year activities, this is for Dr. Elena Richter.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Wilson, and Cabinet, and to the board members of the This year has been a year like no other, but definitely a year marked with many, many successes. And it's hard to believe that we're approaching the end of the 2021 school year. And with the end of the school year comes many celebratory events and activities for our students, for our staff, for our parents, and for our greater community. And what we would like to do tonight is to present to the board a brief overview of all of the events and activities that are planned for the end of the year. And I've invited our amazing principals, all 4 of them, to come up and share all of the specific activities and events that they have planned for their school sites for the end of this coming school year. So I would like to invite, I believe, Ms. Alana Foray, who will be presenting first, if I believe I'm correct. Oh, is it Dr. Michael Lynn? Sorry, Dr. Michael Lynn.
Welcome, Dr. Lynn.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Richter, Superintendent Wilson, and thank you to the governing board for this wonderful opportunity to share with you Carver School's end-of-year activities. As you can see on the slide, in this appreciation week for our teachers and staff, I would like to give a big shout out to all our wonderful teachers and staff for their amazing work this year. We are very grateful for their hard work and dedication to our students and learning communities. Appreciation Week ends this Friday, along with state CASP and CAST testing. Also not listed on this slide is later this week, on Thursday, we will be having a small awards ceremony for our 3rd and 4th grade students out on the steps after school. Now, fast forward to May 24th. On the slide, our social committee is planning to have our annual end-of-year staff social gathering, socially distanced, of course. We also look forward to having our spring program that week, which will be virtual. 5th grade promotion is going on the day right before the end of the last day of school, May 26th. To meet county protocols and rules, we will have 2 separate promotion ceremonies that day. Board members and district staff, we will reserve parking spots for you at the front of our school. We're going to block off the driveway at 8:30 a.m. and 12 p.m. so as to convert the driveway into an area for parents to stand and sit. Now, parents may bring a foldable chair and umbrella. We're not going to have chairs set up for parents. It'll be like a standing driveway only kind of setup. Our esteemed dignitaries, of course, please arrive before 8:30 a.m. if you plan to attend the morning session, before 12 noon if you plan to attend the afternoon session. Again, the driveway will be closed afterwards, so then the visitors, the parents can stand on the driveway and be safe. On the last day of school, we plan to have something fun and special for our 5th graders. There will be stations for socially distanced activities, including a water tunnel walkthrough, soccer, basketball, jump rope, handball, a dance party in the lunch court with popsicles, socially distanced, of course, dance party, with no touching, and a grad walk around campus with the lower grade level teachers coming out to cheer and congratulate our 5th grade pioneers just one last time. This will be a very special day, of course, that may require Kleenex for our students, teachers, and staff, and for me, of course. All of the grade levels will be on an asynchronous schedule that day, but of course, each grade level team, our teachers may plan something synchronous and something fun for our lower grade level students, so as to also celebrate their accomplishments. Thank you, and this concludes my presentation for Carver School. Mrs. Barber.
Good evening, President Ryan, members of the board, Superintendent Wilson, and Cabinet. It's a delight to give you a brief summary of the year-end events at Valentine. I just want to highlight all that our PTA does for us and thank Marissa Kelly for her gracious and sensitive, creative leadership this year. It's been a year of unique planning and thinking outside the box. But the PTA is really helping us to finish the year off in style. Can you hear me okay? So if you're checking the events, we've already had 2 amazing events this month. We started off Saturday the 1st. All the families kicked off their weekend by coming by bike and car and walking to the front of the school and picking up donuts. We were able to shower our police and firefighters with donuts as well. It was a great way to start the month and the weekend. And then on the 4th, our virtual family viewing night of the engineering fair took place. Thanks to the incredible vision and planning of Jennifer Kang, who spearheaded that event. We had 60 projects submitted, 78 students involved, and all the projects were selected from 3 grade-specific projects, and they all followed the engineer design process. So we are so proud of what our students were able to create, and we really hope that it leads them to new levels of excitement and interest in science and engineering. And then our PTA 5th grade activity chairs have been collaborating with our 5th grade teachers to really bring back as much as possible those very special end of the year events that are so meaningful to our 5th. Starting on the 25th, we have a very exciting fun day planned. It's going to be a day of crazy fun with the kids and their friends. There'll be games and relays, water balloons, music, yearbook signing, and the rest. That will take place in the afternoon. Our PTA chairs have also helped put together some very special slideshows. There's a slideshow of memories across all the years. And then you'll remember, of course, the all very famous hat parade. It's a one-of-a-kind parade. The 5th graders designed their own hats. They're working on that now, and they're going to submit slides of those. The special part is going to be all the students coming together to view that slideshow in this very auditorium on the 26th as a class. Then on the 27th, we'd like to invite you to our recognition ceremony. It starts at 10 o'clock on the field, and all immediate families are welcome to attend. It's our first in-person all-school event of the year. Thank you so much.
Good evening, board president. Good evening, board members and executive team, Dr. Wilson. Gives me the great opportunity to present to you some of the great happenings at Huntington Middle School. But I first want to take this time to thank our wonderful teachers that have done an amazing job pivoting, adjusting, being flexible, being stretched, probably doing things they never thought they would be doing, and they're doing an amazing job for our students and our community here at Huntington. So I'm extremely proud of them and proud to be representing them tonight, and just a shout out to them, to those that are listening at home. I also want to shoot a huge shout out to the instructional support staff that help these teachers do what they do every day. They're kind of the unsung heroes to me quietly as they work with students that need those, have those special needs, or the kids that might just be thinking outside the box in a different way, and you have to kind of bring them in, but keep them outside in that way that they be in their creative mind. So to our instructional staff who does an amazing job, and a huge shout out to the office staff that which work with me daily, my administrative assistant, Lizette, and to Ryan, amazing AP that I'm able to work with. We're able to do amazing things for our staff, and the support that I have with June and Dawn and Vanessa in the front office. So a lot of great things that are happening with great people. So those great things, what are happening? So we've done our CAS testing, as you can see. We started on May 5th. We had over a 90% completion rate and participation rate. That's pretty impressive considering what we've had going on, and to do that virtually. So that's a huge shout out to Dr. Choi and his team, which helped our staff, to Ashlyn, which have helped our staff prepare themselves, and working with our students. So tomorrow we'll be doing our English language arts testing with our students for period 1, doing that virtually. And then after that testing that we're going to be doing tomorrow for our English language arts, we're going to be going into our jazz pop concert, which will be held out for the jazz students and their families in the beautiful library courtyard area. That'll be tomorrow. That'll be the 20th, correction. And then on the 21st, on Friday, got a most triumphant event. And if you know Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, yes, thank you, President. You get it. I appreciate that. So we'll have Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and we'll have a food truck out in the back. This is an event that is for our HMS families to celebrate together as we finish the school year. It's county approved, and so we submitted the paperwork for that with our PTA. So we're really excited that we're going to celebrate together as a family and as a community of HMS with a great 1989 classic, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And then we're going to move on to the choir pop concert, which we'll be having under the great direction of Mr. Derek Jameson, who does an amazing job with our students on our VAPA program. Those kids have done a phenomenal job this year adjusting as well. And Mr. Jameson's doing some great stuff, and that'll be coming out as well in a virtual format. And then the 24th, we have a lot of activities that are going to be happening that last week. Those of you that are part of the Huntington family know that it's full of spirit and full of Fox pride. And so we're excited to move forward with some great stuff that under the direction of Kelly Keto, our activities director and our athletic director. She's really spearheading this and does an amazing job orchestrating it all, and especially considering the time that we're in and the schedule that we have to pull this off. And it's just been really encouraging to see the staff step up and to do things that they're going to be participating in helping our kids through these events. So we have the aerial class photo competition, and we want to thank Clock. They'll be participating in that with us to help us with that. So thank you, Clock. And if you didn't know that you were doing that, you do now. So thank you, Clock. So our Spirit Day will be in person. We're going to be doing some great stuff with our students, both. And we don't want to forget the students that are still at home in our Group C. So we have stuff lined up for them as well. So they're feeling part of this as well, because we know that's important for them. And then we also have our orchestra concert that'll be virtual under the direction of Mr. Folsom, who does an amazing job with our string students. And then Wednesday, the 26th, we'll be doing a promotion practice with our students, preparing ourselves for our promotion ceremony, which I'll invite you to. Please come on Thursday, on the 27th. Be my guest. I'll have reserved seating for you. Please RSVP to Lizette so that we know that you're coming, and we make sure you have proper seating for you. And that'll be on May 27th. And it's 4 tickets per family. As you can see, it will begin promptly at 5:30. And again, it will be assigned seating, and that has also been approved by the county. We just got that approval today, and we submitted the paperwork for that. And then lastly, a celebration for our students. And thank you, Board Member Ton, for spearheading that PTA-sponsored event, which will be a celebration for our kids right here at Huntington Middle School, something different that we'll be doing here to celebrate our 8th grade promoting class. And then lastly, I just want to give a huge shout out to our PTA. They have done an amazing job this year under the direction of Allison Moeller and her executive team, as well as the association, really doing some great stuff for our families and especially for our students this week. So huge shout out to the HMS PTA. And that is all for today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Daryl. Thank you, Jennifer. Jason, take us home.
All right, take you home. Okay. Well, I think all of that speaks for itself. A lot of that is things that you are well aware of. I think that probably the biggest difference is we have AP testing going on literally every day. We have another 2 tests tomorrow during book drop-off. But I really wanted to take this time just to thank everybody who's been working on my site tirelessly, starting with the PTA. Helen Spitzer and my executive team are probably, of course, the strongest team. I'm going to say that, but really, when I saw that's who I had, I very easily calmed down, because other than Helen, I had worked with all of them at Huntington. So we were a strong group from the beginning. So thanks to their trust and their hard work, we've been able to pull off quite a bit this year. Second group is my ASB. Those kids have done everything they can to make this a memorable year. They put together some amazing activities. They've stayed connected with their student body. They have reached out. They have stayed positive and consistent throughout this entire thing. Without Courtney Rushing as their leader and those kids, we'd be in a very different spot. Next, of course, David Irier, Carlos Casem-Clay, Annie Chen, Debbie Cribbs, Sonia Quiros, Michelle Quiros. Those people, a lot of people walk up to me and say, "Oh, you're doing such a great job." And all I can ever say is, I am literally not doing anything. I am so sorry to tell you that. You pay me a good salary. I appreciate that. But those people lift every heavy load for me every day with good humor, with grace, with long hours, with early mornings, with late nights. There's no complaining. There's just, let's get this done. And you know what it's for? It's for the kids in this community. There's so much love and dedication there. When we had our first football game, every single one of those people worked till 10 o'clock that night. Nobody wanted to be paid. They were excited to see kids come back. They were excited to see families in the stands. They were so happy just to feel the sense of our school coming back alive. Blake Williams, the entire VAPA team, Derek Jameson, Tracy Shen, Terrence Leave, every single one of those people working tirelessly on that musical, pulling together and making something incredible happen. Still don't know how Blake pulled that off. That is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. The acoustics were great, and I got to hear it for basically 3 weeks straight outside my office. There are far too many people to thank. That's the only reason we're here today. We all, as we say at San Marino High School, we pull together instead of pulling apart. So let's keep that in mind as we get to the end of this year. Come out for grad night. You can take a peek. You don't get to go inside. That's all for the kids this year. We're doing it twice though, so maybe around July you can come around for the 2020 version and you can enjoy that one. You'll be getting invitations to everything. And we're gonna have a quote typical graduation, which we're really excited about. So come on out and continue to enjoy all of our sports. We still have 2 seasons left, so we have plenty going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. So, Dr. Richter, that concludes our 11A end of year activities. Under 11B, San Marino Schools Foundation campaign, I'd like to welcome Dr. Linda Delatorre.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the Board of Education, Superintendent Wilson, and cabinet members. I am very pleased this evening to just notify you that we do have President of the San Marino Schools Foundation, Erin Bilvato, with us via Zoom. And Mrs. Bilvato is here to provide the Board of Education with an update on potential pledges to the district to be used to fund a limited number of teaching positions that are tied to Measure E funding. So, Mrs. Bilvato?
Yes, good evening. Thank you so much for inviting us to be with all of you this evening. I also have Mrs. Zaina Dowd with me this evening, who is the treasurer for our hardworking group of trustees. And we are here to update you on the progress we have made in our fundraising activities to support a supplemental grant request from the school district that was made this month to support teaching positions that are at risk due to the failure of Measure E. And we are here to let you know of the dollars that we have raised towards that grant request, and to also let you know that our Board of Trustees has approved the funding of that grant request of $1.65 million that will increase over time as we continue our fundraising efforts in the community. So that is not a final number. And Zaina will go through with you in a moment the additional funds we have made since we were able to make that approval last week. We are committed to continue our fundraising effort through the end of the school year. We are receiving donations each and every day. So this is a dynamic number that we would hope would continue to increase to fund the full amount of the 33 positions that were requested by the district. I do really want to get the message out to the entire community that there is still time to give, that we are actively engaging with parents, with community members, you know, whether they reside in San Marino, outside of the town itself, and are an out-of-district transfer student. If you rent, if you own your home, you know, every single one of you plays a critical role, and we really hope for your engagement and participation. Yard signs will be coming up towards the end of the school year, and that is our next big push. We have beautiful yard signs that have been created especially for this unique year that brings together the PTAs, the Measure E campaign, the San Marino Schools Foundation, in a really united team, really working on behalf of all of our teachers. So with that, Zaina, if you would like to give us an update on our up-to-the-minute dollars that the district can rely on as it moves through its decision-making efforts and for the school board, that would be great.
Great. Thank you very much, Erin, and thank you to everybody that's in attendance. We're very happy to be here, and as Erin said, we've been working tirelessly with our community. It's been very engaging and refreshing to see all the community efforts. Just everybody's just kind of everyone's woken up and has kind of come together to try and save our district, our teachers, and our community. So as Erin had indicated, the supplemental grant request was approved by our board last Wednesday. And there's at the time, the conditional approval pledge pending, obviously the passing of Measure E was for $1,650,000. As of today, we're happy to announce that the number is actually $1.7 million. We are trying to kind of keep it up to date, but as of today, we are happy to say that the foundation will be pledging $1.7 million towards the district's supplemental grant request. And as Erin indicated, we're going to continue our efforts pushing for our 100% parent participation between now and our next board meeting that will coincide with the end of the school year. So stay tuned for more updates on that number.
Wow, Erin and Zaina, thank you so much. Say that number once more.
It's 1.7 million.
1.7 million.
I want to make sure it was clear. It was 1.7, right?
Thank you so much on behalf of the San Marino School Board. Thank you, foundation members, parents, the community for coming together. We can't thank you enough, so thank you for that. Wow, joy, such joy.
Yep. So we're still working towards that. The grant request is over a $3 million grant request, and we are will remain hard at work and really look forward to further donations coming in. And as Zaina said, we want to really thank the community members who have come out so passionately in support of our schools, the pop-up donations, the drive-through donations. There's just been so many individuals who are all superheroes in our book. So thank you all so much. And that's our update for this evening.
Thank you so much. Go ahead. Next, 11C, our San Marino Teachers Association Sunshine Proposal for 2021-22. Dr. Linda Delatorre, please.
Thank you, President Ryan. Pursuant to the Educational Employment Relations Act, the association is required to present the public with a copy of their bargaining proposal. They also provided this to the school district, and we posted it to our website to make it available for public inspection. It is the 2021-2022 proposal. It includes automatic reopeners such as salaries and health and welfare benefits, along with a reopener. They get 2 reopeners every year, and their single reopener is Article 8, which is their leaves of absence article. So it is available to the public, and there is no need for the Board of Education to approve the Sunshine Proposal. It's just a statutory requirement that we make it available to the public.
Thank you, Dr. Delatorre. So it's an informational item. Next, communication from the audience regarding matters on the action agenda, and they are to be made at this time. So Dr. Choi, please.
Thank you, President Ryan. We will go ahead and pause the meeting for 1 minute to take requests for matters in the action items section of the agenda. If you would like to make your request to speak, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. We have 30 seconds remaining. If you would like to make a request to speak regarding action items on the agenda, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. Okay, President Ryan, we have one request.
Thank you, Dr. Choi. So under number 13, the action items, they are for consideration of rescinding a limited number of certificated layoff notices, resolution number 18 of the Board of Education, and tentative agreement with San Marino Teachers Association, tentative agreement with California School Employees Association, CSEA, and for the approval of Brown Act commitment.
Okay, our first speaker is Lisa Davidson. Lisa Davidson, your line is now open.
Woo-hoo! That's my comment.
Thank you, Lisa. All right, so maybe I didn't have to read all that to remind her.
Sorry about that.
Thank you. So 13A, consideration of rescinding a limited number of certificated layoff notices. This is an action item. Dr. Linda Delatorre, please.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the board. Based upon the San Marino Schools Foundation's very generous pledge this evening in the amount of $1.7 million, it is recommended that the Board of Education direct staff to rescind 17 of the 33 certificated layoff notices issued in March, which are tied to Measure E funding. And this is an action item.
Thank you, Dr. Delatorre. I'd like to make the motion to for consideration of rescinding a limited number of certificate layoff notices.
I move to approve for 13A, consideration of retiring a limited number of certificate layoff notices.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. So that was Mrs. Ryan and Mr. Chang. With that, I'd like to do a roll call vote. Mrs. Chong, please. Thank you, Mrs. Chong. Mrs. Chan Lin? Aye. Thank you. Mr. Chang? Aye. Mrs. Ryan? Aye. And student board member?
Aye.
Thank you, Rahini.
Thank you.
Thank you, San Marino Schools Foundation. Next, 13B, we have resolution number 18 of the Board of Education, San Marino Unified School District, layoff of classified employees. This is also an action item. Dr. Linda Delatorre, please.
Yes, thank you, President Ryan, members of the board. This evening before you, you have resolution number 18, which is to lay off a limited number of classified employees due to a lack of work or a lack of funds. And on this resolution, you have 3 specific categories. One is to eliminate 1 instructional specialist library media. That position is at Valentine Elementary School. And this would allow Carver and Valentine Elementary Schools to have the same number of support staff in their libraries. Access to the libraries would continue to be provided to students. So we don't believe that there is going to be any interruption in services received by our students at both elementary schools. The second one is to eliminate 2.75 FTE inclusion aids. And the third is to eliminate 81.25% inclusion aids, which comes to a total of 4.875% FTE. And it is important to note that 3 of these positions have been vacant for the entire school year. So not all of these aide positions represent actual people that will get a notice. There are simply some positions that will be eliminated because they are no longer needed. And then there are others that are not currently tied to a student's IEP. Therefore, we are going to be reducing those aides. If it is found that we need to add back aides next year because of student IEPs or student needs, we do have funding from the state through the expanded learning opportunity grant that will allow us to do that in the 21-22 school year.
That was one-time money, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay,
do
so we have to,
Yeah, we have over $100,000 in one-time money that we can spend on supporting aides for next year. So if we do need to bring these back based on student needs, we will certainly be well poised to be able to do that.
thank you, Dr. Delatorre. And board, may I have a motion? This is an action item.
I move to approve.
Thank you, Mr.
Resolution number 18 of the Board of Education for the Samanino Unified School District for layoff of classified employees.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Chang. With that, roll call, please. Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mrs. Chan Lin? Aye. Mrs. Chang? Aye. Mrs. Ryan? Aye. And our student board member?
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Fahini. So the action is moved, and let's go to 13C. This is tentative agreement with San Marino Teachers Association, also an action item. Dr. Linda Delatorre.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the Board of Education. The San Marino Teachers Association and the school district were successful in reaching a tentative agreement, which has since been ratified by the San Marino Teachers Association membership. That includes an agreement regarding health benefits for the 21-22 school year, a 21-22 academic calendar. And then we have also agreed to extend the school year by 2 days for our students. And that is represented in both the calendar and the salary schedules. We do have salary schedules for specialists that do not represent any type of increase. It's simply to denote that the stipends that specialists receive are supposed to be part of their base salary, because we are currently appealing an audit decision that CalSTRS made. So that is the purpose of those 2 salary schedules. So with that, we are seeking the board's approval on the tentative agreement for San Marino Teachers Association and the school district.
Thank you, teachers, and to Dr. Linda Delatorre for your hard work in making this agreement happen for us. So with that, I ask the board for a motion for approval.
I move to approve the tentative agreement with San Marino Teachers Association and
Thank you, Mrs. Chong.
I second.
Thank you, Mrs. Chan Lin. I'd like to do roll call vote. Mrs. Chan Lin? Aye. Mrs. Chong? Aye. Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan? That would be aye. And then Ms. Fahini Garamella.
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Garamella. Motion passes.
I just wanted to point out, if anyone didn't look really carefully, in case anyone didn't look really carefully, the instructional calendar's in there, so everybody can start planning their vacation now that it's passed. Yes.
Thank you, Mrs. Chong. All right, next, CSEA tentative agreement with our California School Employees Association. Without them, we would not be here. And so Dr. Linda Delatorre, can you tell us a little bit about this action item?
Yes, thank you, President Ryan, members of the Board of Education. You have before you this evening actually 2 tentative agreements that we are presenting to the board for approval. One is specifically related to the health and welfare benefit agreement for the 21-22 school year. And the second one is related to the 21-22 instructional calendar. And I am very pleased to present these to you for your consideration and approval.
All right, board, so before us, we have this agreement. May I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the tentative agreement with California School Employees Association.
Thank you, Mrs. Chong.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. And with that, I will do a roll call vote. Mrs. Chong?
Aye.
Mrs. Chan Lin?
Aye.
Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan? Aye. And Ms. Bahini Garamella?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes. This tentative agreement, 13D, tentative agreement with CSEA. Next is 13E. This is approval of the Brown Act commitment. I apologize. I had it before me and then I moved it. Here we go. All right, so this is an action item, and the governing board of San Marino Unified School District has received a cease and desist letter. This alleges that the following described past action of the legislative body violates the Ralph M. Brown Act. The board members engaged in serial meetings through communications on Facebook. In order to avoid any unnecessary litigation and without admitting any violation of the Ralph M. Brown Act, pursuant to Government Code Section 54960.2C1, the board hereby unconditionally commits that it will cease, desist from, and not repeat the challenge past action as described above, and will provide notification of its commitment in response to the cease and desist letter. The board may rescind this commitment only by a majority vote of its membership taken in open session at a regular meeting and notice on its posted agenda as rescission of Brown Act commitment. This is an action item, so the motion language must be: once this item is before the board, it is appropriate for me to request, I'm requesting for a move to approve the unconditional commitment pursuant to Government Code Section 54960.2C1 and to provide notification of the commitment in response to the cease and desist letter. Does everybody have that language? All right. May I have that motion, please?
I move to approve in order to avoid unnecessary litigation and without admitting any violation of Ralph M. Brown Act pursuant to Government Code Section 54960.2C1. I read the whole thing. The board hereby unconditionally commits that it will cease, desist from, and not repeat the challenge past action as described above, and will provide notification of its commitment in response to the cease and desist letter. The board may rescind this commitment only by a majority vote of its membership taken in open session at a regular meeting and noticed on its posted agenda as rescission of Brown Act commitment.
Thank you, Mrs. Chan Lin. May I have a second to that motion? She already read it. Yeah. So I'm asking for a second to the motion.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Chong. And so without discussion, or if there's any discussion, I'd like to move to a vote. Mr. Chang, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Mrs. Chan Lin?
Aye.
Mrs. Chong? Mrs. Ryan? Aye. And our student board member?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion pass. Next, item 14, board superintendent discussion items. This is a procedural item. Do you have anything?
I would just say it's a great night. It's a good night of celebration, and we've said it, but I want to say it again. Congratulations to our foundation, our community for standing very tall in this moment, and knowing that this is a one-year fix, but it's a great fix. And hopefully we're not going to have to count on it at all in the very near future here. But what an effort. Thank you, Aaron, Zana, the whole group, and Linda for all your work on this.
Thank you, thank you. And with that, I'd like to adjourn the meeting.